when the pot that calls the kettle black starts speaking openly and honestly, we probably better listen, right? You see, at a campaign rally here several days back, one of our presidential candidates, who also currently serves as our vice president, had some people in the crowd who were identifying themselves as believers in Christ, saying Christ is King and Jesus is Lord. So, before I lose those of you who aren't with me on this, understand that our nation was founded with biblical principles that we still get to enjoy to this day because people have stood up and defended those. So things like innocence until proven guilty, justice, unalienable rights, those given to us by someone above, and because they weren't given to us by a human, they cannot be taken away from us, okay? All of those are ideas that come from Christianity and from the Bible, even though we have not been taught that. So, a couple of students in the crowd are yelling, Jesus is King, Christ is Lord. And I did, the first several videos I saw of this, I don't believe things until like I can see it and observe it with my own eyes. I'm super skeptical. Ask my husband. Sometimes I ruin his sweet little feelings because I don't believe the things he tells me, because I'm like, well, I want to know the proof, like who did that study or whatever. Like okay, so the first several videos of this, I was like, okay, I know people are claiming this happened, but I'm not going to believe it until I can like see something more observable where I can see it. Okay, so then I see the video where it's really hard to hear both parties, but you could, that these students say these things, and our vice president says, oh, you must be at the wrong rally. You must have intended to go to the smaller one down the street. So when those who are spewing hate and lies and misinformation and confusion at those who are attempting to do their best to preserve the integrity of our nation, where we get to live in freedom, we get to choose who we marry, we get to choose what we pursue with our lives, we get to choose whether to run a business or get a job working for someone else and have more freedom in exchange for not having the self-employed lifestyle, doing your dreams. This is coming from some self-employed people here. If you appreciate these things, we have to see what is behind what is going on. We have to use our minds and see through what's going on. I've been urging you to make sure you're listening to both sides of the news. I am not trying to convince anyone of what to believe. I'm trying to enable us to use our minds, to open our minds to things we may not know are going on, or when we figure out what's going on, to be inspired to try and do something about it. So if you want to make sure you are hearing both sides of what's going on so that you can use your mind and not just do what you're being told to do, so you can use your mind and make an educated decision before you vote. Several places I've been listening to a lot of things are, I'll list them off here, and I just want you to know, like, I hate politics. I have buried my head in the sand a lot, but I listen to select things, and I listen enough to have a general idea of what's going on. And the general idea of what's going on is we need to get up and do something. That's the general idea. So if you want to make sure you're hearing the other side that's not coming from the few people who own almost all of our media, if you want to hear the other side, a few places you can go look are One American News Network. I get their updates on my phone. I don't like the ads in that app, but their headlines are good and they just pop up and you can look at the ones you want and not look at the ones you want. Real America's Voice is an app that has lots of different people, lots of different commentators. Victory News is one that's Christian based. The Pour Over is an email you can get that is maybe the most unbiased thing I've looked at. People like conservative talk radio, I used to not be able to stand listening to it, partially because of the way they talk, not really because of what they're saying, but the way they talk. But Glenn Beck, The Blaze, Dan Bongino, like people like this, when you start listening for the first time, you're going to think they're nutbags, they're like off their rocker. But I encourage you to keep listening and then make sense of what you hear from both sides. We have to make sense of what we hear from both sides. So I've mentioned several, okay, so whether you're a Christian or not, you enjoy a lot of things that come from our ideals, that come from the teachings of the Bible, like I said. So I've mentioned several times some pastors that have given some sermons talking about the election and the issues, what's going on. So I've mentioned that in the, I think it was 1954, nonprofit groups, there was a law made that they're not allowed to speak on political issues. They're not allowed to take sides. And since then, the practice of ministers and preachers and our leaders in our beliefs have stopped speaking on things like presidential issues, which used to be normal. Okay, these things have gone away. So I give mad props to the leaders who are willing to speak out and speak for what they believe. The one that is really good, they're all saying the same thing. Almost all of the ones I have seen are saying the exact same thing and saying it in their own personal style. So my favorite is from Lake Point, like a big pond, Lake Point Church, election 2024, how to vote like Jesus. There's another one that some people are going to consider more radical from Generations Church, Who Would Jesus Vote For? There are others out there. Christians, I just saw a number that like 66% of people identify as Christians. I'm not sure if that's still true or not. I know a lot of us aren't really living like it. If we want our God to show up for us, we need to be praying, we need to be reading our Bible. Our hearts need to be in the right place. And we need to be witnessing to the world around us of what we have experienced and what we can share that offers hope to others. Because here's the thing, people. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said people. Here's the thing. Friends, no matter what happens with this election, if we know our God in heaven and we're looking to Him, He's going to be with us, no matter whether our world gets better or worse. And that's where, for those of you living in fear and anxiety, faith in a higher power has that to offer, friends, and it is worth a lot. So I want to read something to you. It's a song that I heard several years ago, and it has serious power. And I'm going to have to wait a couple of minutes because I have to unload this truck right now and I can't do two things at once. So I'm going to talk to you about I'm not sure what between now and then. And then I'm going to read the lyrics to that song to you. So, have you ever tried to, I'm going to compare this to parallel parking, because I feel like that's the most complicated thing a normal person would have done. Okay, if you've ever pulled a trailer, backing up a trailer, okay, that's super complicated, but for like an average person who's probably never done that, okay, parallel parking. Do you like to parallel park while people are watching? Absolutely not. Not when there's a car in the front and a car behind, and you can barely do it anyway on a good day. Oh, Lord, help me not mess up. Okay. Yep, so you're all watching, and so is my father-in-law. It's a good day. So, what are we talking about? I don't know. I want to listen to this song. Music has had a really big place in me healing from some difficulties over the last few years. Okay, part of what I was healing from was the anxiety of really realizing what's going on in our world and having to like calm down and deal with that and understand that God's in control and I'm not, and learning to accept that is big. One of the songs I wanted to share with you is called Fear is a Liar by Zach Williams. Fear is a liar. Several years ago, I was going through an experience that I had no control over, and the answer to this thing that was in court was going to determine the future of my life. It was a lot. It was a lot. And the song came out at that time, Fear is a Liar, and it really meant a lot to me. But there are so many other songs that are so good. I've mentioned that when I started making these videos, the song called Stand by Ann Wilson, that was my sign. I had asked for a sign that I was supposed to start making these videos even though I didn't want to. Stand by Ann Wilson. When you're surrounded by hate, are you going to respond with love? Are you going to stand? Are you going to let them know that you are here? There's a whole lot more to it, but what a good song. We had some good songs back in the day, like Lee Greenwood. What is it called? I can't multitask. Proud to be an American. There's some old ones in this hymn book. I've been trying to learn how to play the piano again, and I found this old hymn book that's actually like at my really low level of not being able to play the piano very well. Battle Hymn of the Republic, Onward Christian Soldiers, and there's one other one in there that I'm like, man, people used to write songs about this. Like, we used to intertwine our faith and our nation, because our nation was founded on faith entirely, and it has been eroded away at to where we can't even tell anymore. We can't even tell. They told us we can't pray in schools and all these things, and like, our nations knew that, our founders knew that this nation would crumble if we did those things. They knew that. They knew that. Since then, we have forgotten. History is so important. Let's find some audiobooks about the founders of our nation. Man, people throughout history have had courage in the face of fear, and it is our time to do the same thing. It is our time to have courage in the face of fear and in the face of not having any idea how to make a difference. Doing whatever we know possible, like being a weird, crazy person making videos live on the internet for all the world to, whatever, think I'm weird or make fun of me or whatever. It has been that fear is a liar. You know where fear comes from? Fear comes from the evil one. Fear comes from the evil one. So here goes. The song is called Am I the Only One? By Aaron Lewis. Am I the only one here tonight shaking my head and thinking something ain't right? Is it just me? Am I losing my mind? Am I standing on the edge of the end of time? Am I the only one, tell me I'm not, who thinks that taking all the good we got and turning it bad, well, I'll be, there's several bad words in this, I'm gonna mute. I think I'm turning into my old man. Am I the only one willing to bleed, take a bullet for being free? Screaming, what the blank, at my TV for telling me, yeah, are you telling me that I'm the only one willing to fight for my love of the red and white and the blue burning on the ground? Another statue coming down in a town near you, watching the threads of Old Glory come undone. Am I the only one not brainwashed, making my way through the land of the lost, who still gives a blank and worries about his kids as they try to undo all the things he did? Am I the only one who can't take no more, screaming, if you don't like it, there's the door? This ain't the freedom we have been fighting for. It was something more. Yeah, it was something more. Am I the only one willing to fight for my love of the red and white and the blue burning on the ground? Another statue coming down in a town near you, watching the threads of Old Glory come undone. Not the only one. I can't be the only one. Am I the only one who quits singing along every time they play a Springsteen song? Am I the only one sitting here, still holding on, holding back my tears? For the ones who paid with the lives they gave, God bless the USA. I'm not the only one willing to fight for my love of the red and white and the blue burning on the ground. Another statue coming down in a town near you, watching the threads of Old Glory come undone. I'm not the only one. I can't be the only one. We're not the only ones. We're not the only ones, but what are we going to do? How are we going to help the others see that we have to be in this together? You and I and the people voting the other way are not the enemy. The enemy is bigger than that, and the enemy is dividing us on purpose. How are we going to stand together?